this year I had the opportunity to speak to a group that is focused on helping physicians manage and learn and figure out how they're going to manage all of this data that's coming in. Everyone keeps saying we have so much data, what the heck are we going to do with it all? And physicians, who are obviously already tasked with a lot of things on their plate, need to be able to manage this. And yet, as the devices get more and more sophisticated, we're going to see more and more people using them. So I think this next session will be extremely interesting to talk about. I'd like to welcome all my speakers to the stage right now and introduce our moderator, Mike Fibus. Sorry. That's the right name, right? Sorry. He's a technology columnist for USA Today and CIO Magazine, and he is also an analyst and just a brilliant writer, so make sure to follow him because he tweets a lot of great stuff, so thank you.
Oh, there we are. Okay. Yeah, thank you all for joining us. I'm excited about this panel because we really get to talk about how to put our money where our mouth is and start to bring in data from the 99 point whatever time when we're not in a clinical facility. So I have with us Randy Kellogg. He is CEO of Omron Healthcare here in the US. Also a board member of AliveCor. Mm-hmm. You'll see why we're talking about that in a second. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Ann Curtis, you have a lot of titles, but I'll name a couple. Distinguished Professor of Cardiology at University of Buffalo. You're also President and CEO, right, of UBMD,
right.
The physician group. So thank you both for joining us. So you, Dr. Curtis, started a study, I guess it's not last year anymore, it's the year before, bringing in, from the KardiaMobile data into your workflow, if not actually the EHR. So I want to start with Randy. Can you fill us in? You're a board member at AliveCor, which makes KardiaMobile. Can you tell us quickly how that works?
Okay, so a patient, one of Dr. Curtis's patients, would be recommended to use a KardiaMobile device, or if it was some other device, a blood pressure, but whatever it is, would recommend that. And then with the KardiaMobile case, they would take their EKG. That EKG can be shared with the physician either by an email or it can be directly through a system. It depends upon where you are, who you are, what you're connected to, but it can easily be connected. And you can either have the patient connect all the EKGs, which I don't think you want, or you can have the patient upload those EKGs or that data that I call the rate data. So someone says to Dr. Curtis, I didn't feel good yesterday. She says, send me those EKGs from yesterday, because she wants to see what was going on yesterday. She doesn't care about the ones that were normal and no problems, because if she had to go through every one of 50, 100 EKGs, it would take a lot of time. So we try to give the data that's right, and we try to help that by with the, whether it's the AliveCor product or our product at Omron, we try to give them, the patient, something that says, this is normal, this is not normal. With the EKG, it says normal, or it says possible AFib. With our blood pressure, it shows you what level of hypertension you're at. So you have some knowledge or some data that you need to know that can then help you give it to the doctor and get a better reading.
Okay, cool. So Dr. Curtis, how is that then coming into your workflow?
Well, the devices themselves, and I'm actually wearing the KardiaBand now, which is a form of it. And what's the beauty of it when I have patients who complain of palpitations is that they realize that either by using the band that we have or this device, that I could sit here and say, gosh, I'm having palpitations, and just hold my hand here and record it, which is, it's a very convenient thing for patients. They like it a lot, and so there's been a lot of acceptance of it. When they do that, it gets uploaded to the cloud, and then we actually download it in the office. And I have a nurse, the one who, I'm an electrophysiologist, so that's electrical problems of the heart. And so we deal with pacemakers and defibrillators and now these kinds of devices. The nurse downloads the data and puts a preliminary reading in it, and then once a week I get an email notification to go in there and check on the different reports. Normal's pretty fast to go through. That's not too bad. The majority of them are. But when we catch patients who have something abnormal there, it's actually the first step towards getting them the right treatment.
So, I mean, have you found that you're getting the right treatment to the patients quicker then, or?
Well, what's nice about it is that you can use it for a long period of time. So, patients who have cardiac arrhythmias, they're intermittent most of the time, so they come and go. And so the problem is that if somebody walks into the office and you get an electrocardiogram, well, if they're normal, then you don't know anything. And previous technologies have even either involved putting electrodes on the chest and having somebody wear a monitor for 24 hours, or then you can also extend that out to up to a month, but it's pretty cumbersome, it's uncomfortable, patients get allergic reactions to the skin irritation from the patches. And so a lot of times they don't wear them for very long. There are insertable loop recorders, so there are things you can actually implant in the body to do this, but that's invasive. This is a really nice in-between method. And the other thing I like about it is that you can use it for a period of more than a year. So if somebody only has symptoms 4 months from now, you have one of these things, you can catch it, whereas the other technologies you wouldn't be able to.
Right. I remember when the Cardia band first came out. I loved it, by the way, and actually I had that happen. I got sick at the Connected Health Conference of all places, and you know, after enough time with cold medicine, I had some issues, and sure enough, it showed. And when I went to the doctor, she said, well, "Where's your PDF?" So I can tell it's definitely accepted, but you have a much more, I guess I'll say, structured program with it.
Yes, we set that up in the office, and you know, we have patients who've been seeking us out to be able to use that. So I mean, any office can do it, and especially if you already monitor patients with implantable devices of all kinds, adding this piece into it is not difficult. But you do have to have somebody who's ready to overread the abnormal tracings.
Right, right. And so how patients, are you still doing it?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
all the time. No, I mean, the key questions to me is I ask the patient, how often do you get the symptoms and how long do they last for? So if they only last for, 2 seconds, you have to have it last long enough to turn an app on and put your hands on. So, if they say 15, 20 seconds, several minutes, we're golden, we'll get it. And then as soon as I explain it to them, the acceptance of it has been really, really high because it's much easier for people to use in social situations than walking around with something that they're all connected to. So the patients really do like it.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, I mean, these are tough problems to find. It's sort of like going to the mechanic with a short.
If you're not having a problem right then, you can't find it. Exactly.
Right, exactly. So, and patients in general are more responsive, I guess?
Yes, for most of the patients, it's not only a good way to diagnose a problem, but it's also a good way to tell them when they're normal. Because as he mentioned, that when you get the recording and you see it on your phone, it'll actually come up in green letters, normal.
Right.
And so then that would be reassuring to patients. I have had a few on the other end of the spectrum who just decide that they're going to record multiple times a day, every day. And that's where it actually does become a problem. I mean, I've had to go so far as to tell patients to simply stop. Because, there's 2 aspects of doing this. One is diagnosis. And if you're trying to diagnose what a rhythm problem is, you really just need to see it once and you know what the answer is. Then you're going to want to monitor treatment, and so then you would want to check people periodically to see if the problem is still there or not. So none of these things, it's not quite like the hemoglobin A1C in diabetes, where you're constantly having to see that number. Most of the time, patients will be normal or have a known problem that we can manage, and then we just have to check every now and then.
I wanted to press on that because, I mean, I see you both shaking your head that there's such a thing as too much data, and that's as an analyst, and I know you can't spell analyst without A-N-A-L, I say all the time, but as an analyst, it's hard for me to fathom you can have too much data, and obviously not for diagnosis, you explained that, but as you're trying to pick up maybe subtler trends.
It's, I can right now think of a couple of patients, one of whom kept transmitting normal, 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 normal. Of course, we don't need that. But I did have another one who had a different kind of a rhythm problem, and she transmitted the abnormal rhythm, and then she did it again, and then she did it again, and then she did it again. And so I don't need that. I need to change her therapy. I need to do something to change what I'm doing with her, but I don't need to see it 100 times.
You need the right data, not
right data,
all
right.
the data.
And it tends to be the same data over and over again.
Yes.
So it's not like it's radically different data each time. So when I see an arrhythmia once or 100 times, it's the same arrhythmia, and it makes me do probably the same thing.
So, I mean, one thing that strikes me about your process, it does seem to be resource intensive, human intensive, and maybe that's part of the issue. Do you imagine, and this is to both of you, as we go farther down the road, maybe being able to trend data, have AI, sit between, the patient and the nurse, and really only, turn it more into episodic, and whereas the AI can say it's the same thing we saw last time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in some sense, electrocardiograms have been like that for a long time already, where algorithms are used, and we get initial interpretations on EKGs. There's no reason why you can't do the same thing here. And yes, if somebody could just a priori just eliminate all the normal tracings and get them away from us, that would really help a lot.
It's also helpful when you do denote those defibrillations or whatever it is, and that information is fed back into the system. Now the AI can get smarter, and we can start to say, this might be XYZ, and help you quickly get to that diagnosis that you're looking for, because we learned from you. We didn't just do it from a machine. We learned from you and other clinicians who are looking at these and confirming things that we may not be able to confirm through our AI.
Okay. Yeah, well, speaking of, so is that something you're working on for next steps, either via Omron or AliveCore or with partners?
On both the Omron side and the AliveCore side, AI is very important to us. Learning more about what the readings mean is more important, because that's how you create behavior change. Obviously, with AFib, the behavior change would be some sort of treatment. With a blood pressure patient, it might be exercise, it might be diet, it might be medication. So the more we can learn, the more context we can get, whether it's context that the physician gives us or it's context the patient gives us. So if the patient says, I had a big dinner last night with a lot of salt in it, and their blood pressure was high, well, we're starting to get some context that this patient has some salt problems, and maybe we could advise them. Maybe we could alert the doctor that your patient consistently shows high blood pressure after they have salt, and you could have a conversation with them, just like the ones that you have with the ones leaving you lots of readings, but you could have a conversation, say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Let's try something different, and then they can actually see the results, because the next time they take their blood pressure, it's down.
Right. So as we're looking forward, are there things that, let me ask it this way. What you've got Randy right here, what do you want from Omron and AliveCore next?
I guess exactly that is being able to eliminate tracings that we don't need to see, that we use the artificial intelligence to get to hone in on the right data. I think one of the challenges, because we've seen a number of different people here, companies, apps, things like that. I think one of the problems for doctors is when if you have patients coming in with multiple different printouts of all kinds of information. Like I said, I've implanted pacemakers and defibrillators my entire career. If you ever saw the printouts from those things, they look very, very complicated. And if I showed it to you for the first time, you'd say, you'd spend the next hour trying to figure out what it was. I look at them all the time. I can skim through it, say normal, 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 done, move on. So when you're used to using a particular app or something, that's not hard. It's when somebody suddenly brings in something new to you, and I've seen some of these things, what they look like, I think that could be a challenge. So the more that we can simplify that data or pull out the key information, I think that's going to be helpful. I mean, it's just like a patient bringing in, even when they do manual blood pressure checks, right? We get patients who come in and give me, 2 pages worth of what their pulse and blood pressure was all the time. They think every record or every measurement is critical. We know that there's some variability in patients, and so we're looking for highs, for lows, for patterns and things like that. So the more we can sort of hone that information on it to what the key things are we need to look at, it's going to make it a lot easier on us making the decisions about what the next steps are for the patient.
Right. It seems to me there's inherently value, again, in those streams of data, as opposed to, I mean, if I go in for a checkup twice a year, you've got a sample size of 2.
One
so I
or
can,
2, yeah.
well, once a year is 1.
Yeah, the more data you have over time, the better. It's still got to be the right data, though, because if you're taking your blood pressure 3 times a day, every day, you don't want to give that to Dr. Curtis. She doesn't need 365 times 3 readings of your blood pressure data.
Exactly.
But there might be a chart that shows the trend, and she could see that from the last time she saw you till now, your blood pressure is consistently going up. Now she's going to ask you questions that you don't want to answer maybe, but you have to answer. Are you following the diet? Are you taking your medication? It could be as simple as, well, I stopped taking my medication because it made me feel bad. But you never told her. And that's a wrong thing. So that behavior could be created by helping them present the data in a way that can quickly and easily allow Dr. Curtis or some other doctor to make a question, a decision, a change, and find out what's really happening.
Right. So Randy, you and I have talked at length about medical devices versus consumer devices. But, I mean, do you see as we try and maybe systematically address context, as opposed to relying on our discussions with the patient, I mean, do you see some value in bringing in wearable data, for example?
Well, you got to trust the data. So here's someone you could ask, because if Dr. Curtis doesn't trust the data that's coming to her, she's not going to diagnose based upon it, and it's not going to be valuable to her, and it's just going to mess up all the files that she has. So you got to have the right data. So if it's verified data, if it's data that comes from a real medical device, if it's something she can trust, I think it's much better for her than just random data that you picked up from an app on your phone.
Yeah, I think if you had a situation where every time the patient's in my office and we're checking a blood pressure and we get a certain range of readings, and then the patient's bringing something in that's wildly different, then we'd have to check it.
Yeah.
What's the problem there? What are they doing to check their blood pressure on the outside, or calibrate it, or have them come and do it in the office in front of us and see if we can figure out what the difference is. But if you can trust the data, then I think it's very helpful. I think with these devices, there are ways I can imagine that we talk a lot about empowering patients, about having them take control of their own health care, about being engaged in it. I think these devices can go one of 2 ways, though. I think there are cases where, by seeing that they have an arrhythmia, for example, with atrial fibrillation, it's all over. If you go a day watching TV and you haven't seen a commercial for one of the anticoagulants to prevent strokes, you're not watching enough TV, I guess, or maybe too much. The fact of the matter is that I think that, for just using this as an example, if somebody gets a recording sometime on a live core and they see that they have atrial fibrillation, I think that would reinforce to them the need to take the anticoagulation. Yes. So in that respect, I think it can be helpful. The flip side of that could be that a patient who goes a period of time and is not seeing any atrial fibrillation, if they don't talk to their physician, they may conclude, I'm cured, I'm better, yeah, I don't have to do this. So I think they're really great adjuncts to what we're doing with patients. I still think they need us to help interpret what's going on and advise them about why, just because you haven't had atrial fibrillation recently, I'm not taking you off the blood thinner or whatever it is we're doing to treat you.
Right, and clearly this isn't a binary decision. It's data or human.
Right.
It's
using both together.
Right, and hopefully we can synthesize the more data so that you don't see that the person's taking it every day, and maybe if there's some value that comes out of it at some
Sure.
point down the line, so
right.
much the better. Randy, what did I forget to ask you?
Oh, let's see. Well, you didn't ask me about my new blood pressure monitor, and I did talk to you about this ahead of time. So, but what we're trying to do with blood pressures, our mission is going for zero, trying to eliminate heart attack and strokes. I've talked about it here a couple times. This year, our blood pressure monitor that you wear on your wrist that looks like a watch is cleared by the FDA. We're starting to sell it, and we're hoping to be able to create a place for people who have frequent needs to take their blood pressure to be able to take it any time. Dr. Curtis mentioned the watch with the AliveCore just being able to take. Now you can do the same thing with blood pressure, and that will create a whole new set of information that may be helpful to a diagnostician, or even helpful to someone to understand where they are in their process, where are they in their life of hypertension, because once you get it, it doesn't really go away. And you have to treat it forever. So you don't want it to be the silent killer. You just want it to be a partner that you're taking care of.
Okay, cool. We're just about out of time. Dr. Curtis, Randy, thank you so much. This has been great. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you all.